Double echo images on the print. The faint shadow. Think of double or echo images, often called ghosting, as a rubber stamp that hasn't been cleaned properly. Imagine you press a stamp into ink and push it onto a piece of paper. If you don't clean that stamp and then press it onto a new, clean page, you might see a faint, blurry ghost of the first image you printed. In your printer, this means that some of the ink or toner from a previous page stayed behind on a moving part and is now haunting your current document. The worn-out cleaning blade. Inside every laser printer, there is a very important part called the cleaning blade. Think of this like a tiny windshield wiper for your printer's internal rolling stamp, which is called the imaging drum. Every time the drum rolls over a piece of paper to print your text, the cleaning blade is supposed to scrape off any leftover toner powder. If this wiper gets a tiny nick in it or becomes weak, it misses a spot. That leftover powder stays on the drum and gets stamped onto the paper again during its next rotation, creating a faint duplicate of what was just printed. Since this is a physical problem with a wiper that can't be fixed, a technician usually has to replace the entire drum or toner unit to make the ghosting stop. The sticky fusor. Another common cause of ghosting is a problem with the fusor. As we have discussed before, the fusor is the part that uses high heat to melt the toner powder into the fibers of the paper. If the rollers inside the fusor are starting to fail or have become sticky with old melted plastic, they might accidentally pick up a tiny bit of toner from the page as it passes through. Because the fusor keeps spinning, it eventually drops that bit of toner back onto the page a few inches later. This creates an echo of your text further down the sheet. If you see the same image repeating exactly 2 or 3 inches apart, it is a very strong sign that the fusor is dirty or failing. The temperature trouble. Ghosting can also happen if the printer's brain is getting the temperature wrong. If the fusor doesn't get hot enough, the toner won't melt all the way, making it easier for it to stick to the internal rollers instead of the paper. On the other hand, if the fusor gets too hot, it can actually melt the toner too much, causing it to smear and leave ghosts behind. This sometimes happens if a user is using very thick paper but has the printer settings set to plain paper. The printer doesn't realize it needs to adjust the heat for the thicker material, which results in a messy, ghostly print. Humidity and the static charge. Finally, the environment in your office can play a role. Laser printers rely on static electricity to pull the toner onto the page. If the air is extremely humid, the paper becomes slightly damp and heavy, which messes with the electrical charge. This can cause the toner to drift or stay on the drum when it should have jumped to the paper. Fanning out your paper to make sure it isn't damp and keeping your printer in a room with a steady temperature can help prevent these strange electrical shadows from appearing.